Hey everybody, what's up? Circus here, coming at you with another Power Rankings video like we do every week. And joining me this week, as always, every week, Kamell, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, Circus? I am doing good and little bit of a slow tournament week, Casey Cup going on, but we still got to talk about how the meta's evolved.
People losing their damn mind, changing their tournament format just for 1 week. What are you
Yeah, I
doing? What are you doing?
definitely can't get behind that. Got to keep it 5 round Swiss top 32, one deck, 6 card side. We'll show you the decks at the end.
That's right.
That's how we do it
That's
here.
the only way to hold a tournament. All right, so if you guys don't know what we're doing, every week we track decks in tournaments and we see how they perform. And then we assign them points so that we can kind of rank them. So if a deck gets first place, it gets 6 points. If it gets second place in a tournament, it gets 4 points. Top four finishes 2 points, and then top eight is a single point. This week, like Kamel said, there wasn't as many tournaments, but we still got five, so I'm happy about that. Battle Phase Monday, Battle Phase EU. We did not do Battle Phase Friday because the KC Cup started. The Battle Series I found out is every other week. So this week they had a series. The God Meta Weekly did take place, and then the SGL or the Shadow Game Links Discord
Yep.
server held their tournament. So those are the five we're tracking, the five that meet our criteria. And then so here we go. Dun, da, da, da. Bam! There's the list on the screen. First place. What the? Who the? How the?
Yeah, it's really weird, man. Shiranui finally dethroned, although it is just by a single
Yeah,
point.
it was close. Yeah, it was close.
Yeah, Element Sabres have been on the decline. We've been talking about it in every episode so far, right? How Element Sabres were the undisputed most played deck in the tournament format, but now they're kind of on par with the other top decks. And we can see that the top spots this week really came down to who won a tournament, who didn't. There were only 5 tournaments on in the sample size this week, so those performances, each performance really mattered a lot when
And
it came
there's
to rankings.
Yeah, and there's only one deck that actually had a first and a second place finish. Not in the same turn, but just generally, all the first places go to different decks. All the second places went to different decks, and that was Heroes. They got 10 points in so they took first place in one tournament, second in another. But otherwise, everything's so spread out, so that's why you don't see like Shiranui at the top with like 22 points, like we saw last week.
Yeah,
So
something about this week a lot. What seems that the finishes were a lot more diverse, right?
yeah,
It doesn't seem like the top cut in any tournament was dominated by any one deck. There was kind of like a more equal spread of things,
yep.
and some tournaments did not have a meta deck as a winner, and we'll get to that.
All right. So, like we said, first place, excuse me, Sabres, and look, first place up 8 spots from last week. So they were almost not even on the power rankings. And this week they got their tournament win, and then three top fours and two top eights. So it all adds up.
Yeah, 3 top 4s. Usually what we would be looking at for Element Sabres, but of course, getting that tournament win in the God tournament did push them over the threshold to get them first place. And yeah, I mean, honestly, this week, I think that this was less of a serious week for tournaments and more maybe people experimenting on what they wanted to play
Right.
in the KC Cup, even though that they are different formats. Of course, people want to play different things or play certain decks depending on how strong or weak they think they will be during the biggest in-game event of the this quarter of the year. So yeah,
Right. I don't think it's a different format, but at the same time, I think stuff carries over. It's like you go play Element Sabers in 5 rounds of Swiss top 32. You're still going to
right,
get a lot of information that you can then apply
right.
into the
Definitely
KC Cup.
the one thing that does stick is getting to the end of the duel victorious and figuring out in a matchup how you are going to do that. And tournaments still help
Right.
you do that a lot because you're always going to be facing, or most of the time, you're going to be facing one of those meta decks that you have to learn the matchup against and defeat in an event like the KC Cup.
Right. So I think any game is good experience.
Right.
All right then. So moving on, Shiranui in second place, where it
Yep.
belongs.
Shiranui in second place, only trailing by a single point. And the week before this, it was Dark Magician and Shiranui fighting over that 1 point spot
Yep.
where it would be decided just by a tournament win. And Shiranui not getting a tournament win doesn't even look like it showed up very much in the God tournament where Element Sabres were victorious. However, they did get runner up positions in the Shadow Game Links tournament and the Battle Series. So, yeah, a lot of top eights for them. Again, just maybe people experimenting with other things. Everyone's got Shiranui, everyone's played with Shiranui. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's continuing its reign of never being outside the top three. I think once
Yeah.
it was top four. I mean, other than that, it's a workhorse and it's probably going to get nerfed. So someone like me, I used to have the deck, then something happened, and now I don't have the deck. I'm afraid to pick it up now. I don't want to get it because I'm almost certain it's not going to be around very much longer.
It's definitely it's a specific kind of deck, right? The engine is very tight and effective, and running a tight and effective engine with a ton of back row is, well, that's why it's so good in tournaments. But again, the engine is very vulnerable if they want to make changes to the game. We're
Squire to
coming off
two, bam.
we're coming off the heels of a KC Cup, and while things usually do not get nerfed after the RRQ, it is very possible that it will. I know from talking to people that Shiranui was one of the most popular decks this KC Cup, so yeah, we're just gonna have to see Shiranui. For now, they're still a very solid tournament deck, so
It's and you never know with Konami. It's like when's the ban list coming out? You're never gonna know. It's just gonna show up one day, right? Like the
something
last one
to
did. It just bam.
right,
What
and
happened?
just something to see. There's only one Shiranui top in either of the Battle Phase tournaments. None in the Battle Phase Monday, and just a top four finish in Battle Phase EU.
Yeah.
So
So
not much happened on our side with Shiranui this
I
week.
yeah I just have a feeling they're getting nerfed soon. They've been around for too long. E Sabers, you're going. I feel like we're gonna usher in something that's gonna carry us through to XZs, right?
Oh
Well, something
God,
that'll
I
carry
don't
us through
even.
until then, because they'll
I
probably come out in October, November. It would be my guess, September, October, November.
I would hope so. I would hope that we have something to break the monotony until then. But I'm honestly not ready. We're gonna have a whole list of rant videos for the new world. Like we haven't even done YouTube on a new world's release, but
Well,
we are gonna
otherwise,
get
what
to
happens? Because if you don't see the ban list in the next couple of weeks after the KC Cup,
Mhm.
we're locked into Worlds, and that's August.
Locked into worlds. Yeah, and
Yeah,
honestly, I think that is what is going to happen. Right, the
August.
last
All right.
few boxes have not been stellar. So my guess is they release some new OP archetype that power creeps a deck like Shiranui it has, or Shiranui has a blatant weakness to a new deck, and that carries us out until August because they traditionally don't do a ban list after RRQ. And I don't think they will do one this time because there is no one deck that is super dominant to show results in an event like the RRQ, right? Usually
Right.
after an event like a KC Cup or the RRQ, the deck that gets hit was the one deck that was overwhelmingly popular amongst
Right.
everyone in every region. And right now, just look at the power rankings. Everything is within a couple points of each other, and I don't think everyone is using one specific deck in an in-game event like the KC Cup. So,
And the
you know,
reports we're getting from players that are in the top 100 is it's all over the place right now.
yeah, and I
It's
definitely
just
think
yeah.
that will lead to no ban list happening until Worlds. We're definitely going to get new cards
So
to.
you might be good to have Shiranui for another month. You might if you don't
Yeah,
have it like me. Don't spend
power
money
creep.
on it, but
Be careful.
yeah.
Power creep will happen.
All right, we'll move on here. Third place, Heroes. This is Kamell's
Yep.
deck.
Heroes 10 points this week, and I am going to toss this up to the fact that maybe some more people have gotten their Stratos, it being the selection box being available right now.
Yep.
It still is, right? Yeah, it
Yeah. I'm
still
guessing
should
through
be.
the weekend and then probably.
Right. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, if you guys don't have that, pick that up because it's not going to be available again until Worlds. But yeah, while it only did receive two tops this week, they got two tops that really counted, a runner-up and a tournament win, which put them above the likes of Dark Magician. So yeah,
I almost
Heroes,
feel like this should be first place. I know the other ones had more tops, but this one, first, second. I mean,
yeah,
that's
first,
pretty
second,
good. That's
that's
pretty
it.
good.
The other two, Shiranui and Element Sabres, didn't have.
They
Neither
had
of them had both.
they had
So yeah,
quantity, right, instead of
right.
quality.
But yeah, Heroes, they do have good matchups versus a lot of decks right now, but just again, certain things like funny enough, we'll talk about it later. The deck they did lose to in Battle Phase EU is just exemplifying the
Oh.
overwhelming weakness, one of Heroes' overwhelming weaknesses, which is oppressive back row and just being able to stop them in the battle phase
Yeah.
from lethaling you. And that is that's a big weakness. However, heroes are able to maneuver around decks like Element Sabers and Dark Magician effectively to the point where those weaknesses are not as prevalent. Heroes have not been widely represented. I think their little popularity spurt has fallen off, and now the people playing it are, people who like the deck.
And every time you say heroes, it just makes me want to say heroes never die.
Heroes never die. I've been playing a lot of Overwatch.
Yeah, I love that game. All right, next one on the list, Dark Magician.
Yep, Dark Magician, speaking of a deck that is extremely weak to heroes, Dark Magician is one of them. However, this week they did pick up a win in the Shadow Game Links tournament. And I don't know, man, we haven't been hearing too much of Dark Magician's success. Every time we see it in battle phase, it pretty much gets shit on pretty often. In
Yeah.
fact,
Yeah, it's just it was so dominant for a while, and then I don't know if people are just bored with it. It's very linear. There's only a few things you can do, and people have figured out how to play around it, right? That's what it comes down to.
I was speaking to Rye not too long ago, and we were talking. He said that one of the things that made Dark Magician like very powerful was not only did they have the Exodia combo that they have, but they also had very powerful skills to make it hard for
Mm,
your
yeah.
opponent to play around that combo, right? They already have the banish navigation thing, and then they negate you with navigation from the grave. And then on top of that, they would run sealed tombs no mortal can resist to make sure you can't do that, that you can't come back to their play. And now Dark Magician pretty much don't use those skills anymore. Dark Magician's probably running like I've seen Ties That Bind or Sealed Tombs or even Destiny Draw. So yeah,
Well
people
then,
not run.
well you get like
Mhm.
Black Wings, the new Neos deck, things like that that can turbo out Necro Valley.
Right.
So they can't use their navigation.
Mhm.
Things like that.
Yeah, just easy stops to that. That now that Dark Magician no longer use those oppressive skills, that they can't stop that stuff anymore. So definitely, Dark Magician is more vulnerable. That's why we're not seeing it absolutely dominate the tournament scene anymore. And I think that's a common trend that we will see. As very powerful decks, even though they're still very powerful, as they become more vulnerable, that's when we're going to see them fall off in the meta.
Well, I think a lot of people figured out too. It's like I don't have to hit your navigation. I just have to hit your circle.
Yeah, it's gonna do
You
take care of
you
that. And I'm
you can
good to
play your
go.
navigation all you want. And as soon as you
Yeah, you
do,
can
I'm gonna
play
hit your
player
circle.
player 2,500 beaters all you want. I
Right.
got my ass on the circle.
Yep. Yeah. So they definitely have a weakness because it's uh, like you said, they got 2,500 beaters, and then everything else, all your other core cards have to be there to support them because they don't do anything on their own. You
You
know.
definitely do need everything with Dark Magician.
And all their cards say if you have a dark magician on the field, right? So sometimes you just got the rod out there or Kaiku or something like that. None of your cards do anything. You're not destroying traps. You're not,
And if you don't have a way other than circle to deal with your opponent's threats that are just going to easily mow down your monsters, then you're going to lose. I
right.
mean, they will just destroy you. Once Dark Magician get their circle banish off, what else do they really do, right? That's why a lot of people have been playing things like Dark Magic Expanded to make sure that when they don't have the circle, they can at least defend themselves.
Well, like I
But
was in the KC Cup playing Ritual Beast, and I run into a lot of Dark Magician, and it's like they flip over navigation, they bring something out, and they try to banish my Ritual Beast. It's like, nope, I'm gonna break it down, and then I'm gonna build it back up, and then I'm gonna put both Dark Magicians back in your hand. Figure out how you're gonna summon those now. you know.
definitely,
I mean, so if it loses very easily to something like Ritual Beast, I mean, other decks are obviously figuring out how to play around it. So, but
they're
you get
definitely
the
if they want to.
you get
I was just gonna
someone
say,
like Ristar playing the deck. Him and his team won Trilinks last week, and he was playing Dark
yeah.
Magician. So I think a good pilot can win with it.
Oh, for sure. And speaking of a good pilot winning with the deck, that leads
Oh,
perfectly
oh,
into
what a
our
transition!
and that goes perfectly into our fifth spot on the power rankings. I don't know how you have it displayed up, but
On the main list, I had it as it's not Yusenju's, it's now Young Whale.
Young Whale. So if you guys don't know, a single player known as Young Whale has put Yosenju on the map, winning Battle Phase EU and getting top 8 in the Battle Phase Monday,
Yep.
getting Yosenju by himself 7 points on the power rankings and giving them that fifth spot, the fifth and final spot. And yeah, there's so earlier in the week you guys did some rogue deck videos,
Right.
and out of all those rogue decks you talk about, I definitely think that Yosenju the best, is one of the best, if not the best, rogue deck. But again, a rogue deck is only as good as its pilot.
Yeah,
And
that's
Young Whale is someone who has just proved themselves time and time again.
well. This is a deck I played a lot because it came in a mini box, and I was more budget minded at the time when I picked it up. It's a lot of fun, but you have to have patience. If you like Cyber Dragons, you're gonna hate this deck. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
because
If you like
some
Black
decks
Wings, you're gonna hate this deck.
Yeah, because Yosenju is a drastically different deck, right? Not only do you have to manage your resources, but if you're playing a skill like Shadow Game, which Young Whale does, you have to manage your life points, the cards you play. You have to figure out if it's worth playing stuff or keeping it in your hand.
right.
Because if Yosenju get hit by a card like Fiendish Chain, that's it for them if they don't have the necessary resources left in their hand to ensure their survival. So definitely reading the situation, reading the board at the time of play is super important in a rogue deck like Yosenju's.
I mean, Shadow Game is obviously great when you're running into someone like Light Sworns or someone that puts a lot of stuff into the grave like Shiranui. But when I was playing it, I didn't always necessarily default to Shadow Game. I like playing Draw Sense Lava Golem because I would just sit and poke at him, right? And I just
Yeah.
poke at him, do 900 damage with the Kama 2, just keep doing 900 damage. And then they, when you got them to the point where Lava Golem would kill them, you let them hit you with an attack, Draw Sense Lava Golem on your next turn,
I love
send it back
that.
over.
Yep.
What are you gonna do? I used to love
Yeah.
that. It's a fun deck because it is a cancer deck, it's a control deck, it's a stall deck, all rolled into one, and it's just the ultimate troll deck. I love it. It's fun to play.
And it has good matchups against a lot of the meta decks. That's why Young Whale is able. That's part of the reason why he's able to perform so well. And as a rule of thumb, right, if for anyone who was thinking about playing a deck like Yosenju's or feels turned away from tournament play because they like to play, things like rogue decks, you can find success in
Yep.
tournament play, but you have to adapt your play style to be able to see things that you don't usually have to look for when you're playing a meta deck, right? Rogue decks, you have to do a lot more of the work. Your deck has a lot more inherent weaknesses to the meta,
Yep.
so you yourself in your deck building and play style have to account for those weaknesses, and that's how you find success in the
Yeah,
tournament form. So
there's a lot
yeah,
of decks where you can make a mistake and recover when you're playing a rogue deck, especially like a Yusenju's. If you ever played Stall or anything like that, it's all about card economy in the extreme. So it's one of those you have to learn your deck and really understand like Kamell said, what's the weakness and what's the strength of it? And I don't know. I think Yusenju's, if you take some time. I mean, obviously this guy won first place.
You won a tournament battle phase EU.
Yeah,
That's no easy tournament.
5 rounds of Swiss, top 32. We showed him the
Yeah,
decks at the end.
that is a slugfest of an event of very good players, and winning that tournament, that's huge.
Yeah. So
That's huge. We'll have to talk to him about that. But I know maybe the people on in the video can't see it, but the rest of the power rankings are not far behind. Everyone is at least within a point of each other. That's usually how it is in the
yeah,
lower ranks, but this week even more so because there's not much of a difference between the higher performing decks and some of the lower performing decks. Tournament results were pretty widespread this week. Even some decks lower on the list, like Ritual Beast, picking up a tournament win.
yeah,
Those points would have usually gone to a deck like Shiranui or something, but
yeah. They came in
that's where those
seventh.
points are. Yeah.
They came in seventh, and then the one I wanted to point out was right below Young Whale and his
Oh
Yusenju's.
man, his
One
Chris.
guy, one guy did better than
Oh
the entire
god.
Crystron community.
Oh, that does not look good. That does not look good. And so before we end the video, on our last power rankings video, a lot of people were saying, why don't you include the Meta Weekly or the MCS? A lot of Cristrons happen there, and that is because when we are making the power rankings, we really want to be able to give you this data and have it mean something, right?
Right.
If we incorporate tournaments from different formats, it still means something, but it means less,
You can't
because
compare them. It's not the same
right,
situation.
Cristrons perform very well in no side deck events because of the lack of options that people have in their main decks to confront a deck like Crystron's. Crystron's is a very good deck, but it falls apart very quickly in side deck format because cards like System Down, skills like Sealed Tombs, and No Mortal Can Resist are very easily incorporated into your deck, and those skills totally destroy Cristrons. And everyone in a side deck event is running those measures against Cristrons because Cristrons is a tier 1 deck. That's why it is not doing so hot in the side deck events. That's why TPC, you got to do your job, get Cristrons out of there.
I just burns me when you say tier one because for one, we don't recognize that system here because it's a corrupt system.
But surely that is why we do not include those those events that do not run side deck, and that's our reasoning. And you should think about that when you don't see a deck on the power rankings, as opposed to you see it performing in a different event. Think about the format. Think what was different in the environment of which the decks were playing in, and that's how you'll kind of figure it
Right.
out.
All right, we're gonna get out of here. So if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, Twitch, Twitter, Discord. What else?
Discord, Gamer Subs.
What?
Don't forget
What?
that, man. Gamer Subs. We're partnered with Gamer Subs, and if you use code DLE in the description of this video, you will get 10% off. Gamer Subs is great. Me and Circus drink it every day at work. Keeps us going. And oh man, I drink this stuff every day, dude. All day, every day. I'm addicted. I'm sold. It's a really good drink, and hope you guys like it too.
Yeah, that's no bullshit. But I actually do like it, so it's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna get out of here. We'll see you next time. I'm
Peace
Circus.
out,
That's
guys.
Kamell. See you later.
Peace.